this, that this was the right device in the workflow to even capture what you're selling. But to what you're saying, the engagement part, you get hooked on the comments, the feedback from the community, and mobile is the right place to be constantly snacking on that, saying who saw my thing, who followed it, who liked it. And I guess that's what makes it different than online, where I guess there's no need for an online site in Poshmark's case even, right?
Yeah, I mean, with mobile there are three things that happen. First is the ability to list an item is super easy. Just take your camera and just click, 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 and very few seconds you've sort of got everything loaded. The second thing is it increases the velocity of interactions, as you were saying, by almost an order of magnitude, which is when a comment happens, instead of getting an email, then sort of going to the website, which could be in the middle of your workday, we all know in mobile we can go commenting back and forth. And then the third piece, which is I think unique to mobile, is that the scaling of the discovery experience is very dependent on some sort of social interaction. So mobile gives you the ability to open that app 100 times a day, right? And 100 times a day, if you can produce some fresh content that I can look at, then I'm going to stop turning that app on. I'm going to turn something else on. And that sort of high velocity discovery experience is very hard to do with any kind of curation or editorially driven thing. You have to have the velocity of social. And that's something, again, that Poshmark has. Essentially, when you open the app, you see this feed. You can open it 100 times a day, and you'll see 100 new things that are happening in the app. And that's something that builds a long-term, deeper connection between the consumer and sort of their device and their app, and ultimately Poshmark.
That's interesting, because it's morphing the notion of what you'd normally consider for a marketplace, which is liquidity and selection and low friction and utility, and it's more like a hangout. And so with that, how do you look at the KPIs of this, and can you even define KPIs of love, if you will, on something that's turning out to be a healthy community and marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely all of the considerations of marketplace, low friction, offline experience, liquidity, sell-through, etc., that we focus on. But there is sort of this unique thing where the overall emotional energy and sort of what we call the love energy flowing in the platform is very, very critical to measuring the health of our community. So for example, one of the KPIs we measure is the ratio of, so you can take your listing and kind of share it, which is promoting it, and it pops to the top of the feed. And the system does some dynamic algorithms to figure out whether it should pop to the top of the feed or not be shown to you. But essentially the ratio of your own shares to the ratio of shares you're doing for other people's listing, which is kind of retweeting other people's listings versus tweeting your own, that ratio is a very core ratio that we measure, both at an individual level, but across the community to measure how much sort of love is being transmitted. Because when you share something, you're actually propagating stuff. You're promoting their closet, and other people are connecting to that closet and sort of following it. So that whole dynamic is very, very powerful in growing out your network.
Makes sense. I want to open that question up to our other panelists. Are there any interesting learnings on the measurement or KPI side on what defines a good, robust mobile marketplace, especially as maybe good learnings for the entrepreneurs and executives in the audience? Is it standard classic marketplace KPIs, or are there other things you're looking at too, whether it's DAU or engagement rate or things like that? Or
so I think some of the metrics that we think are important are not, there's the sort of core, there's monetization metrics, but it's focusing more on just the core light touch engagement metrics. So visits are not, there's visits and how many times people open the app. It's interesting, but kind of not super interesting. And there is sending a contact to an agent, really valuable, but it's that middle area, which is like they are actively engaging in your app, such that they're delivering value or they're doing something, which is not page views, it's irrelevant, but it's a light touch interaction.
It's almost like that snacking kind of thing you want happening all the time, right?
Yeah.
Got it. Sam?
Yeah, I think that it'd be very easy to fall into the trap of looking at this as an e-commerce funnel and optimizing just for conversion.
Right.
And if you did that, you might get a boost for a couple months, but you'd lose all the love by forcing somebody into. The only thing you can do here is purchase. So we think a lot about the people that are coming to snack or coming to look at great hotels and experience photos, see photos that other people have posted with our photo review feature, and what that does is actually reduces conversion rate, but increases virality.
Right.
So we do look at conversion rate, and we have goals against it. But if we are the people that were looking at our app went up 10x and our transactions were the same, I would still be pretty happy about it. So we don't look at it as a black and white thing either.
That makes sense. As a customer of HotelTonight, I find sometimes there's even a little bit of entertainment value. Like, what kind of killer hotel could I have gotten for what dirt cheap rate, even if you weren't necessarily looking for a hotel that night?
And exactly, and that goes to the virality of the product. And I think one of the things that's often missed in the talk about virality of this platform is that it's so easily shareable.
Right.
So I was at a dinner party, and 2 of the 3 tables when I arrived had HotelTonight out. They were passing it around because people were looking for a place to stay that night. And then pretty soon, the rest of the people at the table pulled out their phone, downloaded HotelTonight. It was free. And so it propagates that way much differently than a website would.
Right.
Like, oh
Right.
yeah, let me think about what is that hotel.com website that is okay but not great anymore? And you have to remember it and then go back to your computer and then.
That's right.
So whereas immediately you get the download, you get the persistence.
That's right.
And these things can take off in a way that a website and anything before the mobile ecosystem really has been able to do.
I agree. I think word of mouth and physical word is the best virality for apps, but if we could track it a bit more, if we could have really good unique user code or invite codes for every user, maybe there's a bit more measurement or incentive of tracking we could do on it. With that, I want to open up to the audience if there's any questions. We have a couple minutes in case folks have specific questions for our panelists. I think we have some mic runners out there as well. Questions? See one out there?
I'm just curious about how you solve the chicken and egg problem. You don't have enough consumers. How do you get the suppliers?
Well, from our perspective, we knew we had about 2 months to get consumers. We were able to get hotels, and they were able to give us their last minute rates. But it took us a while to get people to book. I remember sitting around in our small office in San Mateo and saying, everything is great here. We've got the best prices at awesome hotels like the Roosevelt and the Ace in New York. Best prices in the world for this. Only problem is nobody's using the product. Right? And we had a lot of press. We had a lot of usage. We didn't have any bookings. And we worked everything we could to get that to happen. All of a sudden, it just started to happen. But we had a short fuse. And we've talked to some of the people that have cloned us overseas, and they've not been successful because they hit their fuse. When a hotel works with an app for many months and they don't get anything in return for that, they'll have some level of patience, but they're not going to have more than 3 or 4 months. It's going to vary by marketplace, but I think you should really set a goal around, if you're doing a marketplace, what that fuse is. Otherwise, it's actually better to not work with that customer anymore and go with somebody else because you're just going to ruin that relationship.
Very good. Well, I apologize, folks. We are at the time limit. They're asking us to wrap up, so we don't have time for further Q&A, but let's give a warm round of applause for our panelists.